Soon after I had taken baptism and I had taken my Christian life seriously, and I was 21 years old, I was reading this passage, 2 Samuel 24:24, and King David went to somebody's field to offer a sacrifice. And the man said, "Oh, king, you don't have..." He said, "I'll buy everything from you. I'll buy the ox and I'll buy you this ground so I can offer to God." And that man said, "Oh, no, king, you're my king. I'll give you the ox, I'll give you the wood, I'll give you the land. Take it all free." Now, you know how much we all love to get something free, isn't it? Everybody likes to get something free. And David could have said, "Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for offering that." But he didn't say that. He said in verse 24, 2 Samuel 24:24, "No, I won't take it free. Because if I take it free, my offering to God will cost me nothing. Cheap. It's like Cain's offering. I got it free. Arana gave it to me free. And I offered it to God." He knew that's Cain's offering. So he said, "No, I'll pay you for it. I'll pay you the price of this land. I'll pay you the price for the oxen. I'll pay you the price for the wood. Then when I give to God, it has cost me something. I felt the pinch in my pocket of money." And then he said these wonderful words, "I will never offer to God that which costs me nothing." And I say that because that was the verse that changed my life when I was 21 years old and baptized. And the Lord spoke to me through that verse, and I still remember it. I'm, past 83 now. What the Lord spoke to me 62 years ago. What he said was, "You must never offer to me that which costs you nothing." I learned something. I'm glad I learned it when I was 21. "You must never offer to me," said the Lord, "that which has cost you nothing." And from that day, I decided that I would try my best. I didn't always do it perfectly, but I tried my best to offer time, money, energy, my service, everything. And I would ask myself, has it cost me something? Then it is an offering worthy of the Lord. But if it has cost me nothing, you know, even if you love your wife and you want to give her a gift, and you pick up some cheap thing that costs 2 or 3 rupees, you wouldn't do that on her birthday. No. Even if you're a poor person, if you love your wife, you'll give her something that costs you something. Because what you give shows how much you love that person. And so from that day in my life, I decided whether it was an offering of time, or an offering of money, or an offering of my energy, or my life, or anything, it must cost me something. And that's the great lesson in the offering of Cain and the offering of Abel. Now, I'll tell you how important this is. If you turn to 2 Chronicles chapter 3, some of you have heard me say this before, but it's good to be reminded again. 2 Chronicles chapter 3. When the temple was to be built, which is a picture of our church, we are building a church here. The church is an invisible group of people God has chosen to be His. And the Old Testament temple was a picture of the New Testament church. Where was it built? Very important. 2 Chronicles chapter 3, Solomon began to build the house of the Lord in Mount Moriah. Mount Moriah was where Abraham offered up Isaac his son. Now that morning, if Abraham had offered 10,000 sheep instead of Isaac, if God said, "Offer up Isaac," and he said, "Isaac, that's too much. I can't offer my son. I'll give 10,000 sheep to God," it would have cost Abraham nothing. Because he probably had 20,000 sheep. What does 10,000 sheep mean? But when God asked for Isaac, there was nothing more expensive that Abraham had That's a lesson we got to learn. Abraham offered to God that which cost him something. And he didn't know. We know the end of the story, that Isaac didn't die. But Abraham did not know the end of the story. When he put Isaac on the altar, he lifted up the knife and he thought, this is it. I have to say goodbye to my son. And I'll tell you another thing I learned from that passage. Isaac was not a small boy. If you read there in Mount Moriah, Genesis 22, Isaac carried the wood all the way to the top of the mountain to place on the altar. He must have been about 20 years old at least to carry all that wood. A young, strong man of 20, 22. And it's not like telling a 3-year-old, lie down there. Abraham tells his 22-year-old son, lie down on the altar. Isaac says, where's the offering? He says, you're the offering. I'm going to kill you. And this 22-year-old young man says, okay, Dad. Boy, little things like this, if you meditate, I say, what a wonderful father Abraham was to bring up his son in such a way, with such a reverence for God, that when Abraham said, lie down there, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to offer you to God, he said, okay, Dad, if that's what you want to do. It'll be wonderful if you have children like that, who are submitted to God to such an extent and trust their father and mother to such an extent. And say, you lie down there, I'm going to offer you up to God. And you say, okay, Dad, I trust you. We don't have parents like that, and we don't have children like that. Not many anyway today.